sharing our stories connects us. Listen and be connected. Join us for the Conversation meeting weekly at the intersection of community and culture. Hosted by
No sound?
Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter. And Joe King Carter. I always start the show like that. I don't know why. I don't know why I throw props like that right at the top of the show to my man Joe, but I do know. Because he's the secret weapon. He's part of the secret sauce that makes this show so special. Hi, everybody. If you're just joining us, this is The Conversation on WMNF 88.5 FM right here in Tampa, your community radio station, and you might just be listening to us from anywhere in the world where you happen to have an internet signal on WMNF.org. If you're listening to us in London, like some of our fans do, we know that it's 5 o'clock in the afternoon there. And if you're listening to us in Hawaii, it's somewhere around 6 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. But here we are. We're here for you, and we're here for this. My name is Mario Nunez, and as always, I'm seated alongside my broadcast partner, Joe King Carter. You heard him grunt a little bit earlier. Joey, grunt again.
Hey.
Not sure what that was, but that's Joe. That's our Joe.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, sir. How was your week, Joey?
My week was busy and excellent. Life is good.
One of these days, you're going to give us the honest truth about that. But I appreciate the optimism.
No. Let me just say this for everyone out there who thinks that's if you're going to go there, I'll go there.
Dale, go.
If they think that's bull, let me tell you this: I believe in manifestation at the highest level. If you go into your world thinking it's junk and crap and garbage and bad and evil, guess what you're going to get back?
You're going to get a lot of that.
Yeah, I get up every day believing that the very best possible things could happen to me today, and they usually do.
Attaboy, Joey. That's our Joey. See, that's why we keep him on staff, and that's why we pay him the big bucks. So, Joe, let me say real quick a couple of things. There were two events that we attended this week. On Monday, Memorial Day. Veterans Day is in November. On Memorial Day, we attended a very excellent event at 1920, right there on 7th Avenue. There were a lot of our political leaders that were there, our public servants, a lot of patriots, a lot of people that are just connected to and willing to put up the fight, Joey, to be in the fight, as it were.
Absolutely. And
it was very inspiring to hear the speeches. We had some high-profile candidates there. Alex Vindman was there, who's running for United States Senate. We also had David Jolly, who's running for governor. Mm-hmm. And it was just good to be among so many like-minded, like-hearted people. That was wonderful. And then last night we had the occasion again, to be at a kickoff event for Bill Carlson's mayoral candidacy. Mm-hmm. And that, too, I mean, I don't know if you've been to Penne Rustic in a while, but there were probably at least 250, 300 people in there. It was SRO. But nobody was offended. Nobody was like, hey, you're standing too close to me. It was a love fest. Mm-hmm. It was good. So I'm kind of coming off of that little buzz, right? So Monday and Tuesday, these and you need these things. These are salves for the soul, Joey.
Absolutely,
You need to be.
We need the support of our peers, right?
Yes, we do, and our community at large.
Yeah.
So let me say that, beyond that, this morning I wake up and I turn on Fox 13, which I don't do often, but this morning I did, and I see Charlie Belcher doing Charlie Belcher's thing, right? Charlie Belcher, everybody knows
I know Charlie Belcher. Yes.
Yep. So he's previewing a barbecue restaurant, and. At 7:30, 7:45 in the morning, I mean, the last thing you're thinking about is having barbecue. It's a little bit too early. But I got to tell you, man, this particular barbecue is called the Outside Barbecue. The Outside Barbecue. And they had me at pulled pork, and then they brought out the banana pudding and the peach cobbler, and I lost my mind. Well, let me just tell you that they have 3 locations, and one of them is right here on MLK, which is about 3 blocks east. And Joey, you and I are going to go walking over there, or probably riding in the car after, and we're going to have some lunch because we're going to go get some lunch. And
now, is this a food truck or an actual restaurant?
No, this is a brick and mortar. It's an actual restaurant.
Oh, interesting.
And they know our general manager over here at WMNF because they know her because she frequents the place often, and she's given us some insight onto what to order and what not to order. I'm just saying, we're going to go get it all, Joe.
There you go.
We're going to go taste it all.
Go for it.
All of that said, you are now caught up to date. Joey's going to introduce our guest today. Her name is Rachel Dingman. And Rachel, let me just say at the outset, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yes, so I am excited. Welcome, Rachel. So this is awesome stuff. And what we do here, as always, is we find out about you, and then we sort of find out about what you're doing in the world, and we get all connected through that and in our community. And so let's start with the very basics. Where did you grow up?
I was born in Burlington, Vermont, and I grew up about 30 minutes away in a town where everybody hunts and fishes and four-wheelers and stuff like that. We live by the lake.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let me start before you
Bernie
go.
Sanders territory.
I was just going to say, you stepped on my line.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, did you ever, when you were down at the Burger King, did you ever see Bernie walking around?
You do. Yeah. I mean, I met him a few times. He'll walk down Church Street, which is like a famous street. He's got a house, or I think he's got a house still in Barrie, which is a town in Vermont. So yeah, he's around.
He was the mayor at one point.
He was the mayor at one point, a long time ago.
Yeah. And Burlington, I happen to know, is right there on Lake Champlain, right? And is also, I happen to know this because it just stuck out in my head. I didn't look this up. It was the first, did you know this, Mario? It was the first city in America that became completely sustainable.
Don't tread on me.
I don't know anything about that, but that doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah,
it doesn't surprise me at all.
Yeah.
Is that where the coat factory came from?
I have no idea.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't know, but there's somebody out there listening from Burlington. Is that where the coat factory came from?
Burlington is the biggest city in Vermont, and Burlington is also, I think, and it's also the home of the University of Vermont, right?
Yeah.
So it's a college town, really.
Yeah, it's a total college town. It's where I did my bachelor's degree and master's degree. It's a super fun place to go to college.
Okay, cool. But now you actually lived much of your life a little bit outside of Burlington.
Yeah, much of my life outside of Burlington. I did K through 8 in a small town, like less than 2,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah, and then you have to go somewhere else for high school. Like, we didn't have a high school, so kids like
wait a minute. There's no high school in your town?
No.
Wow.
No.
She buried the lead.
Yeah,
That's how small that town was.
Yeah.
So I went to South Burlington for high school, and dropped out my junior summer going into senior year. And then managed to figure it out. Ended up at the University of Vermont, and that's where I got my bachelor's and master's degree.
So let's back up a little bit before we get to that place where I think I know where we're going. Is that you, let's talk a little bit about your family. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have 2 younger sisters, and they are my absolute world. They are 27 and 23, and they both live together in Sarasota.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and my mom lives in Bradenton, so this is the closest we've all lived together in like 8 years. So it's really fun to be able to just go
Be
there.
close. Be close.
It's really fun.
And so what was little Rachel like in that childhood? Give us an idea a little bit of who you were, what kind of kid you were.
Before high school,
Yeah.
I loved the four-wheeler. We had a lot of freedom, right? So when you're like 10 years old and you can hop on the four-wheeler and go wherever you want, like that's pretty cool. And I played sports up until 8th grade. You know, I did a sport every year. I loved it. I had the closest group of friends.
What was your favorite sport?
Basketball.
There you go.
Yep, it was pretty competitive.
We can see that you're built for basketball.
I foul a lot of games.
Yeah, no, I was just setting a lot of picks and
Nobody
running
can
through
see
a lot
this,
of picks also.
Rachel's not real tall.
Not at all. But I loved it. And like I said, we had a really good group of friends up there. Yeah, my childhood best friend, I'm going back to Vermont in the beginning of June, and I actually have a date planned with her.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so a lot of freedom, kind of a country kind of atmosphere going on. A lot of really cold. You're less than an hour from the Canadian border.
Yep.
So the weather in the winter is kind of severe.
Frightful.
Oh,
right?
yeah, it's freezing. It's horrific.
She uses the word horrific. So, when do you go indoors and when do you come back out again? Typically, I mean, generally speaking.
Like in the wintertime?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it gets dark sometimes at like 4:30.
Yes.
Right? So, like, I was working
Really?
at a school, so I'd leave for school, it'd be dark, and I'd come home and it'd be dark. So that can kind of suck.
That's oppressive.
But people do winter sports. You like have to do
That
something.
whole
Right.
4:30 darkness thing, Joey, I can vouch for that. The year I lived in Chicago, when we lived in Chicago for a year, that was the hardest thing to get used to. That at 4:30, it was not just dark, but it was midnight dark. You know, it was really incredible. Also, I wanted to ask about Burlington and Vermont life in general. I gotta believe that it's spectacular in the fall when those leaves change, and you can't ever that doesn't ever get old, does it?
No, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's absolutely beautiful.
Inspiring, right? Like artists, plein air
Yes.
artists will go out there and take their canvases and
Yeah.
draw that stuff.
Yes, and like Stowe, Vermont, there's like specific roads you can drive down for the best like view, and they're in standstill traffic in like October. It's like the best time to go.
I had a friend
cool.
who went to Vermont on a vacation and sent me the video, and he was on some kind of a 4-wheeler device, and he's running through the snow and the icicles hanging from the trees. It was like these ice cathedrals. It was magical looking. I mean, it was cold, I'm sure, of course, but it was this magical place, it seems to me.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
As a Florida boy, really.
Yeah, and I did some snowboarding growing up, and you get to the top. That view is pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so,
sorry, you're now in Florida because we don't have anything like that here. Sorry.
Well, we'll talk about how she ended up in Florida, but so now let's take you through school, and you're in high school, and you said that you did not finish, and what are the reasons contributing to that?
Right around the time I turned 14 and got into high school, my parents split up. And so I had too much freedom to do whatever I wanted to do because they were doing their own thing. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was absolutely like, this is your fault, hate you guys. But looking back, it's just like they were doing the best they could. They're living for the first time, too. Like, it's very much like there's no normal way to react in that situation.
They're living for the first time, too.
How about that? That's a great line.
And they had me, like, when my mom was, like, 20. So they just didn't really know what they were doing.
You're still in the early 30s. I mean, your mom is 34.
My mom looks like she's 34.
But then you said you were 14.
So she was 34.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had a lot of freedom to do whatever I wanted to do. And when you live in a small town, drugs and alcohol are kind of one of the first things you do because you're bored.
Right.
And I took that to high school with me.
Mm-hmm.
And the culture shock from the town of 2000 to like this school with kids who had a lot of stuff and have done sports and since they could walk and really preppy, like it was really hard for me to go to high school. Yeah.
So
Let me ask this question, Joey, also, because we want to find out the age differences, because you did say that your sisters are your world. Is there a little bit of an age difference? Are you guys close in age?
Me and one are 3 years apart, and me and the other one are 8 years apart. So the one that is 8 years apart, we just moved out of state. Like, we didn't have a ton of our childhood together.
But now you're getting reconnected.
Oh, yeah, she's my best
friend. There you go.
I was
just Joey and I talk about that all the time.
And has been for years, yeah.
And it can be bad, it could be good. It depends on how it turns out.
I got really lucky that she'll say she doesn't remember a lot. Like, people told me I, like, traumatized her, and I used to feel so guilty about that. And she's like, I had no idea what was going on. And I was like, awesome. Love that.
Great.
Love that.
You could rewrite the script.
Yeah, exactly.
So now we're in high school, and we're doing drugs and alcohol, and it's not really the best possible situation, is it?
No, and I think I thought it was normal, like the type of drugs I was doing at like 15, 16 years old. Mm-hmm. I thought it was kind of like everybody was doing it because in my group, everybody was doing it. Mm-hmm. And we lived next to a really awesome, like, small music venue. So I was going to like 3 concerts a week at like 16 years old.
Wow.
And so going to school was hard. Like, I wouldn't get up. I wouldn't go.
Kind of doing like adult things when it was a little too early for you to be really doing adult things.
Yeah, it was way too early for me to be doing adult things.
Right.
For me to be with adults, too, a lot of the time. Like, adults that should have known better kind of thing.
Got you.
Right.
But it was pretty easy to get away with it at that age. Mm-hmm. And as much as I wished, like I said, my parents were, took the reins a little bit, like, I was telling them to back off, right? Like, I was actively, like, telling them.
You were a handful.
Yes.
Let's get right down to it. Yeah. And you're living with your mother or your father?
I was going back and forth, and then at 16, I left my mom's because my dad had less rules and less supervision.
Okay.
To get away with more there.
You're so smart.
Yeah. So that's when it kind of went, downhill.
That's when it went downhill. And by downhill, what are we talking about?
So by 17, I had a boyfriend who was 21 and living on his own, and I thought that was, like, so cool, right? And so I used to tell all these kids that I partied with that I was 18 and I had this whole story and blah, 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 because no one wants a 17-year-old at the party, right? That's a liability.
Right.
And so because I didn't want to tell people I was in high school, I dropped out. And then I'm magically not in high school anymore.
And you can be magically 18.
I know 18. The logic is, like, not great. But yeah, I mean, I was living at this guy's house, essentially. Like, I didn't want to go to school. My dad would call me, like, maybe once every 2 weeks being like, you need to come home tonight. And I'm like,
No, maybe next week.
No, I'm not
maybe
coming.
next week.
No,
Right.
like no.
So you're kind of a wild child in the sense that there are really no. You're bright and there's no boundaries for you anywhere. You're just kind of doing whatever you want to do.
Yeah, I was doing.
Is that
whatever,
right?
Yeah, and like on paper, I made things look really good. Like I always had jobs. I always had good jobs for my age.
Good communication skills. You were able to convince everybody of this, that, and the other.
Oh yeah. I looked the part. Right?
That's what I was going to ask you because, did you look 17 or you were probably looking a little, you were playing 17, playing 21?
I think that I looked 17, but I think that I played the part in terms of like nobody thought I had tried heroin by 15, right?
Okay,
like
so
nobody thought I was doing what I was
that's a big deal.
what I was doing.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, like I always had access to a car. I always had a place to live, right? Like I slipped through the cracks for sure.
Wow.
And there was one substance use counselor in high school. Her name was Mariah Larkin. She's amazing. And I would go in and talk to her and she'd be like, you need to go to rehab. And I'd be like, you're crazy. Like rehab? That's no.
That's not
It's for
happening.
losers.
No,
Yeah.
like I don't need to go to rehab. Like that's nuts. And I'm kind of glad I didn't at that time because I think it would have ended poorly for me. But yeah, I qualified for it for sure.
And the pharmacopoeia of drugs you were doing at that time, what were they?
By 16, I was completely addicted to MDMA, Molly, ecstasy, loved it. But I was doing it in like the bathroom of the library, and like that's not normal,
Right.
Or fun,
Right.
Like
Correct.
I was miserable.
So you're buzzing, you're peaking, and now you've got to worry about the Dewey Decimal System and how to negotiate that.
Exactly, like it wasn't a good time.
So you're rolling on beans.
Yep.
And you're doing also heroin? Is that?
I tried heroin for the first time at 15, and I was really lucky that I didn't pick it up again until I was 21. But the first time I tried it, I really wanted to try cocaine because I hadn't yet, and I was like, this is it. This is what adults do. I want to do this.
Yeah.
And the guy who had it gave me 50 reasons to try heroin instead. And so I did. And then that guy got the beat up at school the next day because there was like a group of kids doing heroin when I was in school.
Wow.
And some of them didn't make it out of it. Some of them are doing fantastic. Some of them didn't make it out of it.
When you say didn't make it out.
Deceased.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Jail.
That it's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
So you're really like you're out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Established.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We've established you are
In the
out there.
out-there-ness of her
and you don't-
lifestyle.
In a way, you don't realize how out there you are.
At the time, no, I didn't really
Right.
understand.
Because everybody in your world was in that kind of having a good time in that place.
Yeah, and my parents didn't understand because they didn't grow up like that. So I told my mom when I tried heroin, and she signed me up for a substance use counselor, and we never talked about it again. Right? And I remember going to my dad at one point being like, hey, I know you don't know what this is, but I'm addicted to Molly. Right? And like nothing happened. And again, I don't know what necessarily I would do if my kid come up and said that, right? So I give them a lot of grace. But like I knew it wasn't okay, but I just kept getting away with it over and over and over again.
You know, these things are probably not often covered in the MBA, the master's program of parenting.
No, exactly.
You know,
It's not in the manual.
It's not in the manual.
You can't go
yeah.
to the index in the back of the book and go, what do we do with this?
It's really easy, I think, for some people to look at other people who are parenting in a way that they think is poorly, but the real truth is it's got to be one of the most difficult jobs in the world.
100%.
Yeah, and I work with parents all the time, like right now, and being not a parent, I'm really mindful of that. Like I have no idea what it's like. Parenting is so hard, so hard. And there's just like, I rarely say bad parent, like, because it's just, life is hard.
Yes,
Life
got
is
it.
hard.
So now you're at a place where somewhere in here you become what we today call unhomed.
Yeah, so I started after high school. It turned to alcohol, and alcohol sucks. You know, you're hungover, you're miserable,
Stomach hurts.
Yeah, like I was just
Head hurts.
And so then I found
I've been there.
ketamine. Then I found ketamine, and I did that for a while.
Amphetamine.
Ketamine.
Oh, ketamine. Okay.
And that took me down. That took me down quick.
Elon Musk doesn't have a problem with it, though.
You know, there are like the studies and stuff for like using it therapeutically, I think are amazing. But like
they're not using it therapeutically.
No. And
they're not microdosing.
And I mean, you can't get a drug and tell me it's whatever it is you think, right? So like even like peers, my peers to this day, you know, they'll have like cocaine. I'm like, you have no idea whether that's cocaine or not. Like you just don't. And it's like even the people who are like, oh, I tested. It's like, no, you tested that little bit. You tested.
Right.
Like you just have no idea. I don't care how much you trust the guy. I don't care where you got it from. Like you don't know.
And these are dangerous times.
Yes.
Rachel.
Yeah.
Because if you get just this much fentanyl.
Yeah.
Peace out.
People, like when I was doing drugs, people didn't die of cocaine, and now I know of a few people who have died doing cocaine because there's fentanyl in it.
Yep.
Right? Like it's just
too dangerous.
Yeah.
Right. So let's take us back to the chronology of how old you are and when this starts to move in an even worse way for you.
I started to get to heroin at 21. I met somebody who shot me up with a needle for the first time, and I thought he was amazing. I thought I knew everything. I was like, this is it. And so he went to jail pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. He spent a lot of our relationship in prison, actually. And I was doing heroin, and that's what made me homeless, because my dad was like, I'm done with this shit. And I'm like so glad that he threw me out, like so glad. And so glad that he threw me out. I was just thinking too, like I tell parents to this day, like you got to make it uncomfy for them. Like you've got to make it uncomfortable, because I was not good at being homeless, like at all whatsoever. Mm-hmm. Like I like to go to dinner, and I like to get Starbucks, and I like a bed, and like I was not cut out for that. So that was the first time I went out of state for rehab.
So as a person who was homeless, you sort of hit bottom. Is that what you're saying?
I think the hitting bottom is tough, but for me, that was like okay, I'll go get help. And I had like fallen out a few times. So like, kind of like, I don't know if this is the scientific term for it, but like I had to be brought back by Narcan. And so that scared me a few times. And I had to do that to people a few times.
So at the feeling level, you almost died.
Yeah. Narcan.
Oh yeah. Like
Narcan.
if they didn't have it, like if they didn't have it, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, if they didn't have the Narcan to administer, we're not doing this interview.
I understand that, but what I'm saying, at your perceptual feeling level, you realized I almost died.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think at that point too, like and I can't speak for everybody, but like we didn't care, right? So if we knew a certain bag was, had fentanyl in it and people were dying from it, that's the one we'd go look for. Like it's really an interesting place.
The rush was the edge.
Yeah.
How close could you get to the edge without falling off the edge?
Exactly.
That was the rush.
Which is also kind of isn't it bringing up sort of self-destructive?
No doubt.
I mean, aren't you sort of saying I don't care about myself?
Well, I mean, it's hard out. Like people think it's fun, and it's not fun.
The barriers, and those things that we call guardrails that keep you from doing that.
Right.
They get completely washed out and lowered, and so the inhibition factor is not present. So you think you're going to shoot that? Why, hold my beer. Watch this.
Yeah, right.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so thank God Burlington passed out Narcan the way we did. Right. And like, because Burlington had a needle exchange, I don't have Hep C or HIV today. Right. Like they had all these things that kept people alive. And of course they're being taken away every day.
And we will give Bernie the credit for that, even though we don't know. Yeah. We'll give Bernie the credit, because that would be something that even if he didn't have it to do with, he would be.
Well, listen,
he's always on
there's
the
no way to get around it. You've got to call that administrative laws based on progressive politics.
100%.
And Burlington is known for that. So
there
you go.
Let's go.
Whether it's Bernie directly or not.
Shall we do a little station ID?
Yeah, let's
introduce our guest. When we get back, Joe, you're going to have to step on the gas.
We're going to do it.
Yeah, here we go.
Hi, this is Meredith Clements, and you're listening to The Conversation with Mario Nunez and Joe King Carter on WMNF 88.5 in Tampa.
Oh, that was great. That was a great show, Joey, huh? That was a great show.
Yeah, what a great,
Meredith is wonderful.
What a great human being.
Thank you, Meredith, for being with us for 2 weeks.
Yes.
We brought her back. We liked it so nice we did it twice.
Yeah,
we brought her back for a second
show. Awesome. I hope we hear more from her.
So if you're just joining us now, you're listening to The Conversation and a Conversation with Rachel Dingman, who's joining us now and telling us a little bit about the depth and the breadth of her story, her personal story. We're going to get through the narrative, and then we're going to get on to what she's doing and helping others as it relates relates to what her life story has led her to. Is that fair to say?
That's
Joey?
fair. And also, I'd like to say that we have strung you along in a sense. I'm going to let you know that today Meredith is a licensed clinical social worker, and we're going to get to what that's about. But first, we got to get to why you ended up there, and let's talk about how you're coming out of your bottoming out.
Yeah, addiction.
So because I came from not this scene, right? Seeing this kind of scene in the homelessness blew my mind.
Right.
So I had a boyfriend and he aged out of foster care. And that, I was like, what? Like, what is that? Like, I couldn't grasp, like, okay, so you're 18 and that's it. Blew my mind. And so from there, it just was like, that's not fair. That's not fair. That's not fair. And so I started working with kids, and I realized very quickly that, like, I didn't want to be the classroom teacher. I didn't want to be in the classroom at all, really. Like, I wanted to do the mental health part. I wanted to be at the homes. I wanted to be, like, fixing the systems of you aged out of foster care.
Right.
Like, how does that?
Yeah, we're going to change that.
Yeah.
Right.
So that's really what took me down the path of social work. I got my bachelor's degree in education after, like, 6 times at rehab, right? Like, we jumped a lot here, right? Like, I did
there's a lot of stuff here.
Yeah, well, we only got an hour, right? So we had to go fast.
I did a lot of work.
But
there's a lot of starting and stopping in that recovery process.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
And you can't give up on yourself. You got to keep hammering away
I think there are times where I was like, this is like, I think somebody told me at one point, like, 1 in 10 of us make it. And I was like, 1 in 10 of us? Like, what am I doing here?
Right.
Like, that was hard to hear. And then one day I woke up and I was like, I'm going to be that 10. Like, I was living in the Motel 6 and I was 2 weeks on, like, meth. And I just, like, walked outside and saw the sun and I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. And I looked awful, right?
You looked like you were 2 weeks on meth and living in the hotel.
Sleep, right? Like, so... Yeah, I went to a sober living, and I haven't done hard drugs since, and that was in 2017.
So,
Here.
So let's talk a little bit about this kid that blows through high school, not paying attention and partying, now decides what goes on in your mind when you say, I'm going to go get a degree. Like, and you see the sunshine, you walk out of the motel, you see the sunshine. When do you say, I'm going to go get a degree? That's a big step.
When I walked out of the motel, I was already halfway through, maybe less than halfway through, but I had taken medical leave, right? Like, I was at a point where I was going to college and shooting up. Like, so I was pretty good at, like, I don't even want to say pretty good because it fell apart, right? Like, I wasn't good at it, but, like, it was happening, right? Like, I was doing the things on paper and doing that at the same time.
So you were actually in school while you were still fighting?
Yeah.
Right.
And then I took medical leave and went to rehab. And then I just like nice things, right? Like, I needed a job and I wanted a job that I didn't hate. And I had systems I wanted to change. I went to, my bachelor's was in educational policy because the traditional school system, like, failed me and doesn't work for a majority of kids. So I was like, this needs to be changed. And then I realized very quickly that I didn't want to be a teacher. I went down that route for a little bit, and social work is what came up. So I came back to Vermont, finished my bachelor's degree. COVID hit the year I graduated. And then I stayed living with my mom and then back to my dad to finish my master's degree. And I finished that in 2023.
At this point, had you reconciled some of the issues with your parents? Because you've already now turned it around a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, there's a woman named Carlina Hart, and she was my therapist in Arizona, which is where I went to treatment. And she was absolutely amazing and helped me work through all that stuff with my mom.
Carlina.
Yeah.
Well, let's go ahead and give Carlina a shout out now. Ring a bell for Carlina. And send her this audio tape when we get finished.
I will. She would love it, actually. So yeah, I worked on a lot of that. And what got me here, though, was throughout that whole time that guy who first shot me up was in my life on and off periodically. And throughout that time, he was, when I'd see him, assaulting me to various degrees, stalking me, not letting me go, right? Like, very much a control your mind, even if he had a million other mind, right? Like, it was just to control me. So he would threaten to do things like call my family and tell them I'm using. He threatened to call my first job out of grad school. Like, he showed up at my house randomly. There was a lot of different instances where it wasn't okay. And it wasn't until the end I started calling the police. Because when you're like using, I just kind of thought that's how it was, right? Like when he would assault me, like I wouldn't call the police because first of all, you didn't do that. You didn't there was snitching was a thing.
Yeah, right.
And then it was towards the end where when I wasn't addicted to drugs anymore, he had no pull. And he didn't like that, right? Like he had no control over me whatsoever.
You broke the chains.
I was doing so much better than him. Like he just, yeah. So the last few months I was in Vermont, it was May 2023. And I was wrapping up my first year as a school social worker and I loved it. I absolutely loved that job. I would have been there for a while. And he kept showing up to my house.
Wow.
And there was the last night where he came over and I opened the door because I thought it was going to be another friend who was going to spend the night with me because I had people spending the night with me at that point, right? Because he was a psycho. And we fought. He tried to steal my phone. I tried to get Alexa to call the police. It was just not good. And then the next day I called my mom and I said, come get me. And she was in Bradenton. And she flew up that weekend and moved everything out of my apartment, broke my lease. And I was down here within 5 days.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Surprised at that point you didn't have a concealed carry if you could get one because...
People would say that. But also,
naturally.
Women are disarmed at an alarming rate, right? If I had a gun and you wanted to take it from me, you
probably do it.
You could, right? I would be... Women get killed with their own gun.
Right.
That's a statistic. That's a hardcore statistic.
Absolutely.
Listen, let me give the phone number out, Joe,
yes.
just in case, because I don't want us to leave here without you guys wanting to. Those of you that are listening and leaning in and listening intently, because this is a wonderful hour of radio right here on Wednesdays at noon. If you'd like to participate, give us a call, 813-239-9663. If you've got a question for Rachel or a comment, you can send us a text, 813-433-0885. Emails are always welcome. Jessica standing by to preview your emails. DJ@WMNF.org. Joey, let me say that it's always the case that when I hear stories like this that are compelling, that both are gut-wrenching and at the same time very uplifting as the story evolves and things get better.
Yes.
It takes an incredible amount of willpower and strength and fortitude from the inside, but also a myriad of good fortune that has to swirl around you because things have to happen in a certain way that pull you out of this. You know, you need people in your life. You need angels, guardian angels that are going to be there at just the right moment. It sounds like, Rachel, you were suffering a little bit from Stockholm Syndrome with your boyfriend that, you couldn't break free of that because you thought that was the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah, and I mean, at that point, he was not even a boyfriend. Right, he was just someone who thought
he was an assault. Yeah. He was an attacker.
Yeah.
He was
I talk. I want to say too. I talk about it I don't talk about it in a way people typically do. I talk about it very calm, cool, and collectively. But it's also absolutely horrific. The things that happened were absolutely terrible.
So you don't get triggered as much as you used to, or even at all.
Probably not even at all.
Good. Here.
Yeah, but I was so fortunate. I've worked at domestic violence shelters. I've worked at those hotlines. When I fled domestic violence, I got on a plane. I got to bring my cat. Vermont Victim Compensation helped me do it. I got to move in with my mom. That is not the case for a majority of people who are fleeing domestic violence.
Right. Hence the good fortune. Hence the guardian angels.
Oh my God, I got lucky every step of the way.
That's why you're here with us today.
That's right.
Yeah.
So your mother brings you down, and now you're in B Town where I grew up, by the way.
Yeah.
And what happens next?
I'm miserable in Bradenton because my mom.
You're seeing bugs and palmetto bugs and bugs that you ain't never seen in your life.
After all of that, and then being on my mom's couch and not having a job, it was scary for me.
Sure.
And I wish I had used it more of a relaxing vacation, get it together.
Yeah,
time,
go to the beach.
Yeah, but instead it was I don't have a job.
Right.
Right, and
I'm lost. I'm a little bit lost. Yeah.
So my sister had lived in Tampa at the time. She went to USF, the younger one. And so me and her went around shopping for apartments. And one of them was in Ybor. And when I say shopping, I mean renting. And I remember we get to the building and I see a chicken and I'm like, what is that? And she was like, oh yeah, there's chickens here. And I was like, okay. And I knew nothing about Ybor when I moved in. Absolutely nothing.
Zero. Right.
And I live right next to 7th. And I love it. Like, I put the deposit down the day I saw it. Like, I feel so lucky that I chose Ybor, because I would have, no offense to everywhere else, probably hated everywhere else.
It appealed to your bohemian soul.
I love Ybor. And so when people are like, it's unsafe there, it kind of makes me laugh, because
unsafe.
You don't know. Unsafe
Ever been in a shooting gallery?
Yeah,
unsafe.
Like the neighborhood I was in, like, Vermont was known for not having rough neighborhoods up until like I left, and like there's a variety of things that happen on the street even without the boyfriend. Like, that was unsafe.
Right.
And if you mind your own business and you're, I don't know. It's not as dangerous as what people say.
So I'm sure you understand.
How long has you been in Ybor now, Joey? How long?
Since July 2024.
Nice.
I'm sure you understand, of course, I've lived there for 36 years, and our news media finds negativity sexy. And so consequently, when something happens in Ybor City, it becomes the talk.
It's clickbait.
It's clickbait. And the real truth is that, and I can say this without any reservations, I've lived in a number of neighborhoods in Tampa when I first came here, and I've never even had as much as a plant taken from my front porch. And when I lived in Hyde Park, they broke in my front door 3 times to steal my stuff. So here's the point, is that that Ybor City suffers horribly from image control, and there isn't a thing. Ybor City doesn't have a marketing manager to market the entire thing. So,
quite the contrary, Joey. Not only have you not had anybody break into your home in Ybor City, but you get your eggs for free. That's another story altogether. We could tell Rachel about the chickens.
I get the eggs for free too.
There you go. There you go.
So let's now talk about, and we can return to Ybor City in a moment, but let's talk about, now you have to figure out a way to buy your Starbucks, and you become an independent operator in a sense. And how does that work?
From when? From what point?
When you move to Tampa, you start to set up your own practice.
Well, when I moved to Tampa, I was still what they call a registered intern here. So I wasn't licensed on my own. I wasn't the licensed clinical social worker. So I worked for IOP and PHP, which stands for intensive outpatient and partial hospitalization. So my clients were there anywhere from 6 hours a week to 35 hours a week. And so I got a lot of experiences with a lot of diagnoses I wouldn't see typically, like in private practice. Psychosis, like things that you just wouldn't typically see.
Right.
And I work with teenagers. And I really work with everybody, but like teenagers up to like 25 is like my favorite population.
That's a sweet spot.
Yeah. So I work with the kids who hurt themselves. I work with the kids who want to hurt themselves, people who hurt themselves, people with eating disorders. I work with a lot of eating disorders.
Do you see yourself in any of those youngsters? Did you have that proclivity to do self-harm, other than, of course, shooting heroin in your arm when you're 15, 16, 17?
Yeah, you could say that self-harm.
I mean, did you ever do anything?
I actually didn't. Like, I actually never had any of the self-harm
in
the way that they had. And I kind of stay away from total substance use. So, like, I don't typically take on, like, I'm not going to work at a rehab. And I do that because I haven't done a hard drug since 2017, but I still drink alcohol. And so it just feels like, I don't know, they like total abstinence there, and I'm all for that. And a lot of people absolutely need that. Like, I don't typically even share that because, like, the people in my life who have been like, oh, I can have a drink too. Like, one of them's in prison doing 5 to 7, and like a lot of them are dead.
Right.
So, and I don't by any means think I'm the exception to the rule either. Like, I do a lot of work still. Like, I'm in therapy once a week, sometimes twice a week. Like, I do all the self-care things. I just got off the phone in the car with somebody who ran the rehab I went to, right? Because we're still in communication. Like, they say to never say never again, right? And so I don't. Yeah.
So now you're working in this outpatient setting, but at some point you decide to become an independent therapist, licensed.
Yeah. So I was working for a large corporation, and when I started, I didn't even know mental health. Like, I didn't know that was a thing. But if you like think about where your therapist comes from, I bet they work for a large corporation, and you don't even know it. And it doesn't make that person bad, right? Like, I'm not saying like that therapist is bad, but it is a horrific industry. It's a business before anything else, because it's a business and it has to be, right? And so, like, these large corporations are taking over mental health, and I don't think it's going to end necessarily well. I think people get slipped through the cracks. People burn out as social workers and clinicians. Yeah, I mean, and I mean, health insurance, right?
That's what.
Health insurance is a scam, right? So if you
now we're getting to the meat and the potatoes. Say that again so I can ring the bell.
Health insurance is a scam. So if you pay out of your paycheck however much, right, or you pay Marketplace, whatever, you pay, say it's like, I was paying $400 a month at one point out of my paycheck, right? But then my deductible is $8,000, right? And then nothing gets paid until I hit my deductible. So what am I paying for? Right. So unless you go to treatment, unless you break something, it might not even be worth it to pay for that every month, right? And I'm not saying get rid of your health insurance, right? But that make sure you know what you're paying for and why. And I mean, I don't have it right now because I work for myself and I went on Marketplace and it was a terrible option. So why would I do that? But so I'm in private practice. I take insurance to a company who helps private practices take insurance. Okay, this is a large corporation. I'm a 1099 from them. Okay, so they have rates set with different insurance companies, and so say I have a contract with a large insurance company, and I say my application, I charge $100 an hour. They're like, awesome, we're going to give you $63.75 per hour. Okay, and it's okay, then people are like, oh well, then there's the copay. No, that's what you get, and you can't charge them anymore. That's insurance fraud. Okay. Right. And then they can take whatever time they take to pay you. Right. So you could just go months without being paid. You could go months without being reimbursed by an insurance company. And then 8 years later, which I've seen happen, they can say, you wrote this note wrong. This session was 52 minutes. It was supposed to be 53 minutes. You didn't put the mood here. You owe us $10,000 because they can take it all back.
Wow.
So it screws over the customer and
the therapist.
Yeah. So when people don't take insurance, that's why.
Right.
That's why.
I think the system is unsustainable. I think you make a good point that we need to look seriously at how we do insurance. And that's insurance across the board, whether it's life insurance, whether it's, because you have a great life insurance policy, but it don't pay off until you're not here. Yeah. Great. I'm going to get a lot out of that.
Exactly.
Or home insurance or automobile insurance.
Well, it's very interesting what happens to our world when corporations step on it. I mean, let's get real about it. Whether it's our food industry, our insurance industry, what we call healthcare, it doesn't matter.
Well, that 1099 I work for, that large corporation that helps me take the insurance, their investors are the insurance companies.
Yeah.
Right. So
it's a little incestuous, isn't it?
They know what they're doing.
Absolutely.
They know what they're doing.
The fix is kind of
So all of this motivated you to become...
Well, so I'm in private practice, right? So some of my clients are self-pay and some I take insurance because I like food and shelter. And I have to, right? It's really hard to have a private practice.
Out of your car.
Out of self-pay, right? And it's
you drive around with a...
I suck at the business part of it. I really do. I don't want to take your money. And again, food and shelter is really great, right? But it's hard for me. I'm just bad at the business part of it. Because I'm constantly oh, this person needs help, right? And it's people come to you and they're at their worst.
Yes.
And it's really hard to turn them away as someone who needed that. And didn't get it.
It's hard. That's a hard sell, Joey. I've heard stories. I'm just going to go off the storyline for just a second. My grandfather in New York, post-Depression years, the 30s, had a cart on the street, as many vendors will have a cart on the street, and he was selling ice cream and ices and things of that ilk. And he went out of business. Why? Because when he would see the poor kids coming up with no money, he'd give the ice cream away because he was too much of a softie, a soft heart.
Yes. How do you not?
Exactly. That's just it. So he wasn't a good businessman.
Yeah, no, I'm bad.
So therein lies the rub,
Well, I was going to. At one point earlier, when I first met you, and I will, for the sake of clarity and openness, I met you in Ybor City, and I thought, I love it when I see people that figure out how to make a living and help people at the same time. I love that kind of thing, and I've done that kind of thing in my past. I worked for nonprofits that help people with disabilities. And my struggle always, and my stress always, was with the corporate side of it. It wasn't with the people side.
Super impersonal.
Yeah, and even nonprofits, right? Nonprofits have their things and corporate has their things, and they both are not great at times.
Sure, Yeah, exactly. So you have established your independent...
So how's that going?
It's amazing. I love it. I absolutely love it. People would tell me you're going to wish you did this sooner. And as much as I probably could have done it sooner. I'm really glad I got the experience I got working in like community mental health and those higher level places.
And why do you love it?
Great question.
Why do I love it?
I think I know the answer.
I mean, I'm my own boss, right? Like I can put the patient's care before the money, right? And in other settings, I wasn't allowed to do that.
Right.
And like I have my own office and it's super cute and like
You're in control of all of it.
I'm in control of it. And I do it in Ybor, right? So like I live in Ybor and I work in Ybor and I tell people like this is the first time ever in my adult life that I felt safe. Ever.
Right.
And I'm 31 years old.
Oh, you just took because I was just going to ask Joey if it's appropriate to ask, because you have packed in, if I may say so, Rach, you've packed in a lot of living in your 31 years, honey. You've been up and down and all around in 31 years. But I think because of where you've been and what it took to get here, that's what makes you the person you are today. You value it because you understand the depth of it. And now you're here to help others.
Well, I've been the client.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. There you go.
I know what it's like to be the client. And I think it's hard to be a social worker. Like it was incredibly expensive for me to get here. Right? I'm in like $130,000 student loan debt. I'm never going to pay that off ever. And I'm honestly not even worried about it because it's not going to happen. Right? But that's on top of my MSW cost $50,000 in tuition. Right? And then there's like the living during it. You can't work during the program. My license alone just to pay Florida was probably like $1,000. And then like all the stuff you need to get the license, like it's there's a lot of barriers to it.
Sure, of course.
Right? So like we need more people who don't have money to be able to be social workers.
And by the way, a lot of barriers to a functionality of skill set that we so desperately need in our society, because I did, as a young man, 4 years in psychotherapy, and it saved my life. I'll say it right up front. And to be very honest with you, I'm not a proponent that everybody has to be in therapy. But you know, the real truth is, if every human being on earth was in therapy, we'd have a much better world. To be able to go into a room and speak to someone who is objectively considering your problems without their own agenda involved is one of the most amazing things on earth. Now, let me ask you this. Your clients now, you like working with young people.
Yeah, I do.
And why? And what is it about that? Because you relate?
Because she's still young herself.
Well, no. I'm talking about really young people.
Yeah, well.
Well, I think like
she started when she was really young.
I started when I was young, and like the older kids were always like the teenagers, the high school was always what I was looking towards. Like that was what I like to work with.
Right.
And then I feel like as I get older, I do get further than that. So like right now, my favorite age is like 20 to 25. Right.
Okay. That'll probably continue to slide. That little slide will
and
continue
like they know it, but I'm like, you guys, they're my kiddos, right? I call them all my kiddos, and I'm like, you know, I don't mean to, but I'm like, bye, kiddo. And she's like, I'm 23. I'm like, sorry.
Also, Rachel, you can say, like my grandmother used to tell me when I was thinking about being mischievous, she'd say, you know that sandwich you're about to eat? I already ate it. So there's nothing you can tell me about what you're about to eat. In other words, you can tell these teenagers, listen, you think that's cool?
Yeah. Well,
I've been there.
I'm pretty direct and authentic, and people love it. You know, so it's not people's cup of tea, but like I'm going to tell you what I think and how it is, and I'm going to tell you if I've been there or not, or how you think it's going to go, right? So like self-disclosure is used if it's beneficial for the client.
Right.
If it's not beneficial, I'm not going to bring it up. If it is beneficial, let's talk about it. And I'm pretty open about this stuff. Like, I can't really hide it.
No. There's nobody listening now,
that's
Rachel.
your power.
There's nobody listening now, right, Joey? There's nobody. She's pretty open about it, but nobody's listening.
That's your power. And by the way, I'm a big believer in my own personal philosophical, epistemological, whatever you want to call it.
I like that word. I don't know what it means.
It means that I am a really big person on facing the darkness, facing the problem, facing your evils, all that stuff, and then seeing the light. The people that never see the light are the people that never looked into the dark. And that's my personal opinion. Now, what can you tell us about young people? Give us some little high points about what you see happening.
High points?
Yeah, well, I mean, what are your insights? I'm going to give you an example. In a conversation I had with you, and I should tell everybody that this person, Rachel, who is serving people and helping them,
Dr. Dingman,
has decided to be on our board of the Neighborhood Association in Ybor City, which is no easy thing to do, folks, by the way. And that's how I started to get to know Rachel. And I remember at one point we were talking about why young people are less buying automobiles. And you got my attention when you said they're not even getting their driver's licenses.
No, I mean, like, I remember, like, the day we turned 16, we had an appointment for our license. Like, we were ready to go, and they
Bang.
they're not. Like, most of my clients are, like, they're dragging their feet, or they don't really care, and I think that they're on the computer a lot. I think they get connection at home, whereas I needed to drive 15 minutes away.
Right.
But yeah.
But you already had experience with the four-wheeler, so now you just need to get on the road.
But I think my point for this is to say that if you are 40, 50, 60 years old or older today, somehow you're thinking backwards and thinking, well, life has always been like this. This is how we date. This is how we socialize. This is what we do. No, folks, it is completely different now.
Well, it is completely different now. And what I think, like when I think of High Point, our kids are vocal. Right? They're going to share their opinions, and not only are they going to share their opinions, they're going to do the research to have an opinion.
Right.
Like, I had no idea what I was talking about back in the day. I went with whatever my parents said. Right? Like, the kids these days do not do this or do that. They're protesting, and they're like I have kids in Vermont who will email me pictures about the protests they just went to, and it's like, it's so
That's uplifting, right? That's uplifting, absolutely.
It's so cool to see.
Yes.
They're connected in ways that hadn't heretofore had not happened.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to that, by the way. And I think that we somehow have bought this idea that people are getting dumber, and we forget that there might be some people getting smarter.
No, and I think when people older see them not getting licenses, they think they're lazy. Right? And they're not lazy. They're doing it differently. And like whatever we did messed it up, I feel like. So like, let's do some stuff differently.
Mm-hmm.
And these things take time, Rachel, and we don't realize because when you're living in it, it moves more slowly, but things are evolving, things are changing.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love the sound of all of this. Joey, this has been an incredible, impressive hour. Is there anything Rachel would like to say before we get out of here?
Yes, that's what I was just going to ask you.
Please.
Yeah, so the number one question I get is, how do I keep my kid from doing that? Like, how do I keep my kid from doing what you do? And I always say, like, the help for addiction is connection, right? So keep your kids in sports, keep them in clubs, keep them with friends, keep them with their community. That is what keeps people off substances.
That's great. And here we are in community radio. And again,
making connections.
I'm like-minded with Rachel because I believe community is the basis of everything in our lives. I believe change comes from the bottom up and much more than the top down. And I think that community is so powerful. So addiction, keep them connected.
Yeah. Connection. And I mean, I think that's why I feel safe here in Ybor. Like, I met people right away, right? Which is why I joined the board. To give back to the community that helped me, right? I feel safe here.
Yeah.
And it is a lot of work. I get a lot of emails a day about the neighborhood association. A lot of emails.
Well, we have some good people on the board who are pretty involved and active. Yeah.
But the good news is at 31, you've got that youthful vigor, that youthful energy that, it's at 67 or 71, 72, we're kind of on the wane now. We need to build a bench.
Say what? Are you on the wane?
You are.
No.
We need to build that bench and
I'm
you're
on the wax.
You're waxing.
I'm on the wax.
Wayne and Gibbous, waxing Gibbous. Look that up.
Yeah.
So the kids today are using the Chat GPT, and that's where they're doing their research, and that's where they're getting informed, and at least they have the incentive to, like, I don't believe that. Let me find out for myself.
Yeah. Well, and I also tell people, like, you can only ask ChatGPT what you already know, right? Because it gets it wrong, right? You can already ask it what you already know. So, like, if I'm like, hey, show me skills for anxiety, if it gives me a bunch of wrong answers, I'm going to know the answers that are wrong. Right. But I could still use that for myself because it just gave me a list of skills.
Sure.
Right. So you can only ask it what you already know.
Right.
Because it gets it wrong.
We're right there up against the hard out.
Yes.
Rachel, let me say on behalf of Joey and myself, thank you so much for coming in today.
Thank you.
We hope that this was as much fun for you as it was for us.
It's been great.
Getting to know you and share your story with our audience has been wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely. And I just want to say, as always, special thanks to Jessica, our OG board op. She is amazing. I also want to say thank you to Lauren, who's back there answering the phones. And then coming up next, it's Sam I Am with Wednesday. It's the music. And stay tuned.
So listen, everybody, before we sign off the air, we would be remiss if we didn't say that next week we're going to be doing our fundraising drive. So next week, if you're listening to us this week, next week will be the day that you can call in and donate and pledge, or you can do that now, actually. But we definitely are going to be looking for you next week. Joey's saying money because that's what we're going to need next week.
Yes,
also, real quick.
We're panhandling, folks.
Real quick, Annie Ellis, happy birthday yesterday. We love you, Annie, and we know you're out there listening and listening to us each week. So on behalf of everybody that puts this show together with love in their heart, thank you. You're listening to WMNF Tampa.